Chapter 8. Reading Aids. Underline and underline. Extracts and extracts. Passion for cards. Abstract. Free abstract. Reading magazine. Index to question. 1. Reading aids. 1. Book index. 2. Table of contents. 3. Underlining and underlining. 4. Synopsis. 5. Extracts. 6. Writing down your thoughts. 7. Reading journal. 8. Index on the issue. That's all the main thing in this regard. The first two have already been mentioned along the way. Let's take a closer look at the rest. 2. Underlining and underlining. Underlined thought is in the book which seems to us deserving special attention, especially interesting or important. Underline marks in the margins of a book serve the same purpose. This makes the sentence stand out from the rest of the text and is easier to find when revising the book. But underlining can have other meanings as well. Those who are accustomed to running through books use it occasionally, as a means to slow down their reading and thus get the opportunity to grasp the thought deeper. The pencil slowly emphasizes, and the eyes at this time read the emphasized too, involuntarily, slowly. For such readers, almost all of the lines are sometimes underlined. This method, of course, is better not to apply unless absolutely necessary. It is much more useful in all respects to learn how to slow down reading and delve into the text without such artificial means. For some readers, the system of marks, underlines and underlines, becomes very complex. They try to note not only the importance of the thought, but also the degree of its comparative importance. If a thought is underlined or underlined with a double line, it is more important than underlined with a single line. When crossing out, they also use the triple line and nota bene, sometimes used voprózitl, 18 ny and exclamation marks. The first means doubt about the truth of thought or disagreement with it. The second usually has the character of a positive assessment of it. With the combination of all these signs, and sometimes with the addition of others, invented by the reader himself, a very complex system of marks arises. If the reader himself does not get entangled in it, then it can be useful. But the average reader is better off not resorting to this complexity. It's easy to get confused. Only the book will get more dirty. Making marks in other people's or library books is generally a sign of arrogance and lack of culture. But if at the same time the reader uses a complex system, then this is a sin for which there is no forgiveness. 3. Extracts and excerpts. Verbatim extracts from books or extracts in the form of a condensed presentation of some part of the book are very useful, especially if they concern our specialty, are connected with the development of a worldview or with a serious issue of interest to us. This is an excellent source of information, and often inspiration. You just need to conduct it in such a way that at any time it would be easy to find the necessary extract or pick up extracts on this issue. The card system best meets this requirement. Each statement is made on a separate card or on a separate sheet of paper of the same format. There are different ways to compile such statements. The easiest way, and for the purposes of self-education is quite sufficient, is this method. On the left a margin is left for further notes. Above the extract, topic its, for example, capital, its definition, feeling, its essence, etc. Under the extract, the name of the author, the title of the book, which edition of the book, year and number page from which the quote was taken. It is very convenient to deal with cards. They are easy to pick up by topic. At any time it is easy to insert a new card, shuffle, if necessary, by the names of the authors, etc. You store them in boxes, envelopes, as it is more convenient for anyone. Only one thing is required, neatness. After using them, they must be put back in place right away, not scattered, etc. A lost card often cannot be restored. Anyone who does not notice special accuracy in themselves can be advised to resort to a less convenient, but safer method of extracts, in notebooks. A thick notebook is taken, fields are made in it, pages are numbered and extracts are made on them. Day, month, year, written at the beginning of each extract or excerpt. In the margins, her theme. Under the extract, the name of the author, composition, etc. In order to make it convenient to use such a notebook and easily find the necessary extracts, they make in a special notebook alphabetical index of topics. While making some extract, at the same time they note its subject, notebook number and page in the index. For example, having made an extract on the topic, capital, they mark in the index, under the letter K, capital, definition K, I, 43, 2. 27. This means, the first notebook, P, 43, Second Notebook, page 27, etc. 4. Passion for cards. It does not hurt to emphasize here that extracts on cards and in notebooks are only an aid in reading, and not a goal in itself. Some are inclined to turn this into some kind of collecting, into a kind of sport. He is proud of his card index of extracts and extracts, increases it in every possible way, and does not apply it to the case at all. Of course, this collecting is no worse than any other. But only for the mind it gives absolutely nothing. Waste of time and effort. Far more dangerous than another kind of passion for cards. There are readers who think that such card indexes can replace your mind. This is already really bad. I once talked with such a young man. He, choking with delight, describing his card index, told in what excellent order it was, and added, "Here you need, for example, to read a report. Now to the cards. There I have on every topic. I will choose the necessary ones, put them in order, and the report is ready. All thoughts are there, you just need to connect. Easy and good. In short, a new improvement in our culture. You don't need to work with your head. Ready boots, ready pants, ready thoughts." It is necessary to warn the reader striving for self-education in every possible way against this hobby. Let him first think about the topic of the report and outline its outline, and then look at the cards and add or change what is required. This is the right way. Your thoughts and notes. Your thoughts and notes about what you are reading can also be recorded on cards in the same way as extracts. Only below, instead of the author's surname, etc., is written in brackets, mine or the initials of the reader, or some other conventional sign. They fit in the same way in a notebook of extracts. If our note refers to some quote or excerpt made by us, then it is best to write it on the same card as the quote, under the quote. Many people write their notes in the margins of books, next to the text to which the note refers. If the books are theirs, then there is nothing to argue against. Since it is more convenient for the reader for some reason, then this is what he should do. But a lot can be objected to making such notes in the margins of someone else's or library books. If our note is important to us, then to other readers it may seem like a simple soiling of someone else's book. Of course, another writes such a note on a library book with a good purpose in order to share his thoughts or his critical depth with later readers. Sometimes even his surname Podsma, Peter Zudochine. Young readers are especially prone to this. But you can be advised not to do this. Some will later remember their notes and blush. How could I write such nonsense? And how such thoughts could seem smart to me? Some of the books in the reading room of the public library are riddled with such naive notes, which speak of an immature mind, the fruit of a short-lived science. Better to take notes on cards or in a notebook. If necessary, we will read them ourselves, either as a useful thought, or as a milestone pointing to a long-traversed path. 5. Abstract. In order to write a summary of a book you have read, you must 1. Select from it all the essential, basic, 2. State it coherently. There are two main requirements. How this will be done depends on different conditions, on the book itself, on our goals, on our experience and skill. Of course, the synopsis of a historical book has a different form than a synopsis of a book on mathematics, etc. If we want to give a short synopsis, we will have to admit that much that is important for a insignificant detailed synopsis is. For the purpose of self-education, a synopsis is written somewhat differently than a simple synopsis of the usual type. The fact is that the work on the synopsis has two sides. 1. It is necessary to give a schematic, concise exposition of everything essential in the book, moreover in the most convenient, easily comprehensible form. The goal here is to be able to recall the main content of the book in a few minutes. 2. For this we need to do work on the readable one. The work, if we want to make a decent summary, is rather difficult. It is necessary to constantly analyze and synthesize what is read, constantly distinguish the essential from the unessential, the basic from the less important. It is necessary to establish a clear connection between the individual parts of the chapter, department, book. It is necessary to highlight the most essential to the fore, the less essential, included in the synopsis, to place them in the background, so that the perspective is immediately visible when reading the synopsis, etc. This work is often very difficult if it is done properly, but at the same time indispensable for the discipline and exercise of our mind. If the synopsis is written for the purpose of self-education, then this second side needs to be laid especially on. Here it is not so much important to get a manual for restoring the book in memory, how important is the work on the synopsis itself. You do not need to spare either time or energy, because it is not only the best means for the most complete understanding and perception of the book, but also an excellent school for the development and exercise of the mind and for developing the art of mastering the material and methods of someone else's thinking. Of course, for such a summary, you need to take only from the main basic books, those that are worth the effort and from which you can best get acquainted with this science and its methods. 6. Free notes. When taking notes for self-education, it is often necessary to choose the type of free notes. Its essence is as follows. When making a synopsis, we can strictly adhere to the order of thoughts that the author has, even if it seemed to us that it would be better and more convenient for us to express the same thoughts in a different order. Or we can present the same material, taken from the author, when taking notes in a different order, as, in our opinion, is more convenient or beneficial for the reader. This freedom from the author's plan characterizes the free synopsis. Usually deviations of this kind are small. For example, thoughts on the same topic, scattered throughout the book, are brought together in one place in the synopsis. Different thoughts in the chapter are rearranged in order to better shade their relationship to each other, etc. Thus, we give the author's material a slightly different form and we take a step towards processing it ourselves. The work is highly rewarding. The larger and deeper this processing, the more difficult it is, of course, and the more it requires thinking. With such free note-taking, one misunderstanding arises. It is as if we find ourselves in a so-called false circle. In order to better understand a chapter, you need to take notes on it. But you can take a good note of it only after reading and well understanding the whole book. What seemed essential in the first chapter often fades into the background when we get acquainted with the entire book, and vice versa. In order to set off in the abstract of the head that it is important to communicate with the chapters that follow, we must, of course, is good to know their contents, etc. Follows. The easiest way out of this circle is to do preliminary sketches synopsis of each chapter in reading, correct them, if necessary, when reading subsequent chapters and rework into the present, final synopsis after reading the book. The one who conscientiously, carefully performs this work, he will feel what great benefit it has brought him. 7. Reading. Journal. Such a journal can take many different forms. Sometimes it is simply called a notebook for extracts, sometimes it is a real reading diary. Under each date of the day on which we read something, it is noted that we began to read what we read that day. Extracts are made. If necessary, they write down their thoughts about what they have read, questions, bewilderments. In a word, is kept a record of readings and study of books during the day. This will also include random extracts or notes from newspapers, magazines, etc. after reading the book, a summary of it, which was mentioned above, its overall assessment, etc. Added to. Such a should be journal index of topics, otherwise it will be difficult to understand. With an alphabetical index, the reading diary serves not only as a tool to aid the study of the book, it is invaluable for reference, for refreshing past work, knowledge, thoughts. In addition to an index of topics, an index of authors may also be kept along the way. He indicates which authors we have read. It is easy to consult the magazine which works they have read by us, refresh their content in memory, etc. For the average reader, it is best to keep a reading journal in notebooks, numbered. For a very neat one, it is more convenient to have a magazine on separate sheets, also, of course, numbered. 8. Pointer by question. Pointer, in fact, has purposes unrelated to any particular reading. Interested in any issue, for example, in our specialty, we start a special notebook or sheets, where are entered in alphabetical order topics related to this issue and found in the books, magazines, newspapers we have read, indicating where they are to us met. For example, let's say you are interested in a question about sensation. You, in an appropriate notebook or on sheets, write down all the topics on this issue as they occur during reading, types of sensations, definitions of sensations, organs sensory, etc. for each topic, an indication of the books and pages where they met to you. Thus, you are gradually compiling a detailed index of all the topics on the issue that you encountered while reading, and those places in books and magazines where these topics were considered. The very viewing of topics is sometimes very useful.